Good afternoon, all. Welcome all participants for IST approved 1-week faculty development program on transforming teaching learning process through modern pedagogical techniques, day 5, session 2. Speaker for this session is Dr. Sridevi ma'am, and her topic is designing an integrated lesson plan adapting TPAC model. Dr. Sridevi ma'am has done PhD in Education, University of Mysore. She has also done Master in Education in Elementary Education, Regional Institute of Education, University of Mysore, MSc in Zoology, MA in Psychology, B.Ed and BSc as well. She has taught high school science at school and undergraduate and postgraduate courses at university level. She has done research in service teacher training assessment of RMSA TCA, role team member in academic year 2013-2014. She has also developed manual for TNA for the conduct of in-service teacher training program. She is assistant professor at Department of Curriculum Studies and Development, NIE, NCERT. She has also published many books and also paper presentations in various international and national journals and conferences as well. So now I would request Sridevi ma'am to kindly start with the session. Yes, over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I hope all of us had lunch and we are going to start with this session. Yeah, 1 second. Yeah. So I think Mr. Pratik had given a an elaborate introduction about me. Let me call myself as a teacher who had been teaching science at various stages. Today's session, of course, as it is already informed to you, this is about how to design an integrated lesson plan. When I say integrated lesson plan, what are those elements that need to be integrated? Probably that is a question here. And how can we integrate the various elements? So in this session, we'll focus on especially one model, which is being, in vogue from 2006 onwards, that is TPAC model, and how to, design our lessons using this TPAC model. That would be the core of this particular session. So let me just start sharing my screen so that you will have both audio as well as visual together. That would help you in, yeah. I hope the screen is visible. Pratik? Pratik?
Yes, ma'am. Screen is visible.
Yeah. Thank you. The problem is because of this online thing, I would like to know if we are together. Okay. So I may be in between asking, either Pratik or somebody who can respond to me that you are all with me. Right. Okay. There is always a small divide which is there in the initial stages. Okay. Anyway, the title of this session would be Designing an Integrated Lesson Plan, Adopting TPAC Model. So in this session, our objective would be to understand what is TPAC model, first thing, and why do we need to use this, and how are we going to design our lessons using this particular TPAC model. I think these three would be the objectives of this particular session. So let me just give you a brief, outline or a background why we are having this session. So if you look into the education scenario in India, especially when I talk about school education, being, a faculty at NCERT, which we are closely working with the school education as well as teacher education. So if we see that India is it's a very vast and a diverse country. We have, more than 15 lakh schools, 85 lakh teachers, and 26 crore students and whatnot. The numbers might have increased. Now, one of the important concern which we had been having since since our independence is imparting quality education, to the whole nation. Now, our focus was initially on quantitative parameters like providing access to all the school-going children. And now, more or less, we have tried to see that education is accessible to children. That means schools have been opened up, infrastructure is built, facilities are improving day by day. Now, it's very essential right now to focus on quality education. Now, when we say quality of education, there are various national as well as international reports which talk about where do we stand when compared to other nations, or where do the states stand, when national surveys are conducted with respect to various subjects and various learning outcomes. So again, a huge challenge which is there in front of us, which is in front of the teaching fraternity, is how to improve the learning outcomes of children. All of us know each child is very different and they tend to learn in a unique way. What I mean to say is every child is unique and he or she learns in a unique way. Each child has different learning styles. All of us know about it. So how can we cater to every child in the classroom? Probably that is a question which we have in front of us. And during when the schools were shut down and when we started exploring the various possibilities of using ICT to reach the children, we found that ICT has potential to meet the various challenges that we are facing in the school education. Then how can we integrate or how can we use ICT as a tool in improving the quality of school education? Probably this is the background on which we are going to talk about, how to integrate ICT along with, content and pedagogy. Now, all of us know that ICT is something which is really growing a lot. The field is growing and the inputs to school education, teacher education and higher education through ICT is really, proving to be one of the important tools. It has an impact on the way the new age teachers, present school teachers as well as future teachers, it helps, it is impacting the way we need to look at the content itself. And then, of course, how to deliver that content using various appropriate methods. Now, when it comes to make the teaching learning process very effective, interactive, then probably we need to use various resources that are available. How are we going to integrate those resources? And what are those strategies that need to be adopted for the extension of learning and assessment? So technology plays a huge impact on all these issues. So ICT integration in teaching learning process doesn't merely means the use of internet and digital devices. Many times we find that, when we go for various classroom observations and all, teachers love to use the new tools that they have learned. But we need to remember, we need to question ourselves, what is the use of this tool? How is this tool going to help or, help in achieving the objectives and learning outcomes, especially the ones which are related to the content that has to be taught in the classroom. So ICT should not be used as an amusement tool. It should be integrated and it should make the learning more meaningful and effective as well as joyful. Hence, teachers must understand how technology, pedagogy, and content are to be integrated to facilitate learning and overall leading towards the acquisition of knowledge. Now here comes, I think most of you must have seen, must be using, must have learned, this web, if you see, there are three circles which are interacting with each other. Let me just start with the first and foremost important circle, that is content knowledge. Now, when I say content knowledge, we know that every level of education has got a prescribed content, prescribed subject matter knowledge. And this knowledge is expected to be imparted through direct and indirect ways. Now, there is a set of methods, strategies, techniques, styles of teaching. That is nothing but pedagogical knowledge. And there are a lot of techniques. When I say techniques, lot of technologies that can be used for teaching learning process. These are different types of resources that can be utilized by the teacher to facilitate the classroom processes. Now, these are the three important components which interact with each other, like the content knowledge and pedagogical knowledge. When they interact, Schulman in 1986 had spoken something about pedagogical content knowledge. He says that it is very essential to transform the subject matter knowledge or for instruction and try to find different ways to represent the material that is to be taught. That means it's something like that, like this, like a small child is there in front of us, and we know that the child is not, he cannot chew the food. It has to be presented in a very soft manner. Okay, so what do we do as mothers? We try to make the food into as soft as possible, as palatable as possible, as easily digestible as possible, and then feed the child of that particular age group. So PCK is that specialized knowledge, kind of knowledge which the teachers acquire through the years of experience, wherein they understand what content, in what way, if presented to which group of students, the child will be benefited out of it, or the learning will be effective. That specialized knowledge is called as pedagogical content knowledge. So Schulman had contributed a lot in this particular area. Now, in the same way, if you go a little bit further, I think Mishra and Koiler in 2006, they have come out with this TPAC framework, which you are seeing in front, right now on the slide. Punya Mishra and the Koiler, they tried to say that they have gone a little bit, they have extended further from PCK. They said that there are interactions, there are specialized knowledge which should be present in the teacher, which would help in effective learning. They included, TPK and TCK in that. Now, what is TPK? TPK is nothing but what are those resources that can be integrated in different methodological processes in order to teach the children more effectively? Or in other way, what pedagogical processes should be taken up for which type of technological resources available to make the teaching learning process easy? So a teacher must be having, like research also says, there may be teachers who must be knowing various techniques of teaching. They must be knowing various methods of teaching, various resources used in teaching, but when to use, how to use, where to use. Now, this specialized knowledge is nothing but your TPK. In the same way, TCK, technological content knowledge. I am very good, I have mastery in the subject, and I know various resources that are available, various ICT tools that are available, but all resources cannot be used for teaching all the type of content knowledge. So which resource can be used to enhance the learning process of the content knowledge? Which resource would really add on or help the children to understand or conceptualize things? That knowledge is nothing but technological content knowledge. That means it is interaction of technological knowledge and content knowledge. And if you see on the slide, there is a part, green colored one, which is common, it's rather, I can say that it's an interaction of all these types of knowledge together, put together. It is called as technological, pedagogical content knowledge. In other words, TPAC describes different kinds of knowledge like technological knowledge, pedagogical knowledge, content knowledge, and their interactions like TPAC, TPK, TCK, and PCK. And all these types of knowledge are very much required, by the teachers for successful integration of technology in teaching. It is not enough if we have this knowledge in silos and if we are not having the capability to integrate them while teaching learning in the classroom. Hence, it is very essential that the teachers must know these interactions of technology, pedagogy, and content. That is what is nothing but the TPAC framework or TPAC model that is proposed or propounded by Punya Mishra and Matthew Coiler. Now, if I have to summarize a TPAC, we say that a teacher, if you want to become an effective teacher, now we need to have, or we need to possess an understanding of how to deliver content using the appropriate technologies. So we have mastery over our subjects. Like, for example, if I'm a physics teacher, I have done my MSc physics or BSc physics, and I have proficiency in content knowledge. But how to deliver that content using appropriate technology, that is what is TCK about. And then, what are the best practices or pedagogical processes that use technologies in constructive ways to teach content? Now, if I'm using a project method, which technology would help me or facilitate the children in their learning? So I need to understand that having pedagogical knowledge is not sufficient. The pedagogical knowledge and the technological knowledge, when the interaction between these two, that is what is pedagogical technological knowledge, or TPK, techno-pedagogical knowledge, we say. So a teacher should know which technology is more effective when I teach through one particular method of teaching. So that is what is nothing but TPK. And then teacher must also possess knowledge of how technology can help address student learning challenges. It's very essential. As teachers, we have been doing this. We need to understand what are those challenges that the children are facing in the learning process, and how can technology help in addressing these challenges. And then lastly, and the most important thing, is understanding of students' prior knowledge and how technology can be used to extend upon it. Let me tell you, friends, I think we all believe that children do not come empty-minded. They are not empty slates. They come with some knowledge. They have already pre-existing knowledge with them. Many times what they know, or they might be coming with various misconceptions or alternate frameworks. It is very essential for a teacher to understand what the child knows so that you can build upon that. So how does the technology help in this regard? Even this is a part of TPAC. Ultimately, it is very essential that all these different types of knowledge should be integrated and made use of while planning a lesson. There are another different models available. I just thought, let me just bring one of the model, that is SAMR model. That is nothing but, again, integration of technology. Like, just if different levels, we say. First one is substitution, technology being just a substitute of what is existing. Technology, is still a substitute, but you start understanding and using it, and try to improve the functions of it, then it becomes augmentation. And if you are redesigning different tasks in it, so it becomes modification. And if you are creating something new, which is not available, where the students have to use the technology to create these new tasks, then it is redefinition. This is another model of, integration of technology. So just now what I have told to you, it is summarized. Now, let me just quickly now, we have spoken about TPAC model. As I told you, that being a teacher, as and when or whenever I'm asked to teach, these 4 questions immediately come to my mind. What are those four questions? Whom do I teach? Are they children of, foundational stage? Are they, preparatory stage? Are they middle school stage? Are they secondary stage? Which stage are they? And what are their attitudes? What are their interests? What do they know about it? What are their abilities? So, whom do I teach? Then comes a very important question. Why? Why do you think I need to teach them? What is it that they are going to learn out of it? And then what to teach? What am I going to teach? Am I just going to teach the content, or am I going to develop values, attitudes, skills, certain interests, certain hobbies? What am I going to teach? And then, okay, I understand that I have to teach, let me take example of secondary school teachers. And I know that these concepts are very important. The child has to learn these concepts and he has to develop certain abilities, like he should be able to classify things, he should be able to plan an investigation, and so on and so forth. And for that, I need to provide them opportunities. So I need to teach different concepts, different, principles, maybe theories. And then how am I going to teach? Okay, I understand this is the context in which I'm supposed to teach. So let me design different strategies to put across whatever is being planned. So how to teach? That is why in TPAC model, if you see, let me just relate it. You are having an overarching circle that is nothing but the context. So all these types of knowledge can be put together, can be integrated in the context of the child. Then only the learning becomes more effective. That means if as a teacher, I may be having TPAC, that means I may be having knowledge of how to use technology, pedagogy, and content and integrate them and put it in front of the children. But if I'm failing to understand the context of the child, if I'm failing in representing it to their level, I think it may not work. So context becomes very, very essential. Okay. So as a teacher, whenever we need to plan, either for a session or for the whole year, whatever it is, we need to question ourselves these 4 important questions: whom to teach, why to teach, what to teach, and how to teach. Now, let me start with the, that means basic parameters of any instructional designing. If you see, it is a content, context, and method, and of course, resources. Now, first and foremost things, whom to teach when I ask, I need to understand the learner. That's what I mean to say. So analyze the learner. So learner analysis, we say. It's nothing but what is that existing knowledge that does the learner have? What type of interest does he possess? What is his learning style? I hope all of us know that each one of us learn in different ways. We have some of us who would love to listen, some of us who'd like to see and learn, some of us would like to see and listen. Some of us would like to do something and learn, kinesthetic learners. And what is their background? Like, what is their family background? What is their parental background? What are the facilities available for the children? What are their needs? We need to understand the children, the learner first. And then always we need to keep in mind the class size, because class size determines your pedagogy. Now, first question, that is whom to teach. Now, next one, what to teach. What am I going to teach? The knowledge that results from the processing of information is called as content or subject matter. See, we have a lot of information that needs to be processed in order to become knowledge. So that knowledge is has to be constructed by the children. Earlier were the days when we used to say that knowledge has to be transmitted. But now we speak of constructivism or constructivist approach, where we believe that every child has the ability to construct knowledge on his own. So with that premise, we need to provide opportunities for children to process the information. So we need to provide information. We need to provide opportunity to explore and collect information, and then help them in processing that information. So ultimately, we need to develop those abilities among the children of acquiring content knowledge on their own, or building content knowledge on their own. Now, why do we need to teach? Maybe, always we have a question. Because remember one thing, that we have aims of education or goals of education, which are having very, very broader scope. But when it comes to classroom teaching, why do I teach? When I ask, of course, there are few answers which comes to our mind. First and foremost thing, to help the child acquire factual knowledge, descriptive knowledge, procedural knowledge, metacognitive knowledge. These are different kinds of knowledge which the child has to acquire. It's not enough if he acquires knowledge. He needs to understand, he needs to develop analytical skills, he needs to develop different set of skills. That means as the content differs, so the goals change, and so the nature of teaching also changes. See, facts have to be taught in a different way, concepts have to be taught in a different way, principles are taught in a different way. So depending upon the type of content knowledge, your nature of teaching also changes. How does it change? We'll try to understand in the coming slides. Now, a few examples I try to put forward in front of you from different school subjects. Like, for example, if the content is fundamental rights in Indian Constitution, which is there in class 8, this is pakka factual knowledge. Now, how are you going to teach this factual knowledge? Because children here, they need to just list out and try to remember these facts. So visuals would be most appealing or most effective. Any visual, any kind of visual, maybe a slide presentation or a digital poster or a digital flashcard, would suffice to bring in factual knowledge in the children. In the same way, if you go a little further, surface area of solid cylinder, it's conceptual knowledge, because surface area itself is a concept, and even a solid cylinder is a concept, and there are a lot of concepts involved, and a lot of sub-concepts are related with each other. Now, wherever concepts are there, that means there are certain attributes which need to be observed by the child, and certain attributes which need to be observed and categorized by the child while forming the concepts. So here the students need to visualize. So when I say solid cylinder, a child has to visualize what a solid cylinder look like. How many, what are the different surfaces it has. So a visual is not enough. There should be a video which gives a three-dimensional view to that. So depending upon the content knowledge, that's what I was trying to say, that depending upon the content knowledge, you need to think of different resources. So if it is conceptual knowledge, it's always better to have some demonstration videos, or conduct a demonstration in front of the children. And then like in this case, like demonstration video can have a cylinder consisting of 2 circles and a rectangle, and would lead to a greater and effective understanding. If you just show it in the form of a drawing on a single plane, probably children might find it difficult. So it's better to give a 3-dimensional view. In the same way, functioning of digestive system, or the alimentary canal. Again, here it is procedural knowledge. Step by step, they understand the how food gets digested, what happens inside the mouth, what happens in esophagus, what happens stomach. So step by step, in a sequential way, they learn. That's why it is called as procedural knowledge. Since the content requires students to understand a process, I think an animated video would play a great role. So I hope you understand that depending upon the type of content and the nature of content, the media will be selected, as well as that resource will be selected. So by this, you would have understood that it is very essential for us to analyze the content. As soon as a piece of content comes to our hand, we need to understand its nature and scope. Now, when I say nature and scope, what am I going to observe in it? When I read the textbook, let me take an example. I'm reading a chapter and I'm reading the content once, understand what is there. Second time I read it and try to analyze and find out what type of content is it. Is it descriptive in nature? Is it exploratory? Is it explanatory? Is it illustrative? Is it procedural? Why? Depending upon the content, the methodology will take up further. And apart from that, we need to even identify the different types of knowledge. If I say scientific knowledge, we have various types of scientific knowledge. Starting from factual knowledge. Factual knowledge is nothing but facts. Conceptual knowledge includes concepts, generalizations, principles, laws, theories, rules, and so on and so forth. And then the third one is procedural knowledge. Procedural knowledge is something like doing something practical, experiments, rules, steps, skills, actions, sequences, techniques, all these things, they come under procedural knowledge. And the last one, which is most important, that is metacognitive knowledge. How am I going to make the child reflect on his own learning? So we need to organize the content. First, we need to understand the content, then reorganize according to the requirement, map the content, and arrange them in a logical sequence. Okay, I'm going to teach this first, later this, later this. And along with this, I'm going to develop these skills and attitudes among the children, values among the children. So content analysis is the most important part of designing any lesson for that matter. Yeah, this I think we have finished. Now, coming to the processes, that's what I'm telling when I say content. It doesn't mean that it's only knowledge. It is even including processes. There are various basic process skills, like when it comes to science, we do make use of observing, classifying, measuring, inferring, predicting, and communicating. And there are a lot of integrated skills like defining operationally, controlling variables, hypothesizing, experimenting, and so on. Apart from these general processes, we have something very essential, attitudes, interests, values also, which play a significant role in the life of a child. Now, you might be having few confusions related to how facts are different from generalizations and so on. I'll not go into the details of it, but let me tell you one thing, that facts are generally are little different from the generalizations in the way they are formed, because facts include a process of observation, whereas generalization result from inferences. And facts are singular in occurrence, whereas generalizations are condensed large amounts of data. It's not once or twice we observe n number of times and then formulate a generalization. Facts are generally from direct sensory experiences, whereas generalizations are summarizations or interpretations of those sensory experiences. And facts are statements of events which occurred in past or present. And generalizations, of course, they show relationship between the concepts. Facts do not have predictive validity, but generalizations can be used in predicting. These are some of the pointers which are very essential for any teacher when they are designing the lessons. Some examples I tried to give. Being a biology person, I've just got tempted to give examples from biology and some general examples. Like, for example, I hope you are all listening to me now. It's a fact, right? And cell was discovered by Robert Hooke in 1665. This is also a fact, which is something related to past. Hydrogen has 1 electron. It is true even now. So it is a fact. Now, generalization. Each living cell has a capacity to perform certain basic functions that are characteristics of all living forms. This generalization is not made out of a single observation. It is made out of multiple observations. Different kinds of cells perform different functions. Every atom has charged particles. These are all generalizations. Then concepts, of course, they are, the form of content that results from summarizing and abstracting of facts, and individual attempts to differentiate and group stimuli. Basically, what we do is give like simple example. If I have to, speak about, I may have, I may show a lot of pictures of one particular concept and ask the children to observe them. They observe each and every example, and they observe the commonalities in those examples, similarities in those examples, identify those attribute or characteristic features that are common in all these examples, and then they come out with, they summarize, they abstract, and then they come out with the concepts. Some of the examples of concepts are cell, microscope, multicellular organisms, photosynthesis, exothermic reactions, reflection, so on and so forth. Laws, again, they're descriptions of phenomena. It's very interesting. They are proven observations. That means somebody had done some research on it and they've proved. Mendel's law of inheritance, Newton's law of gravitation, these are all laws. Theories are, the laws are described, theories are explained. I hope you understand the difference. They explain the phenomenon, they explain the processes, and these theories are repeatedly tested, observed, and experimented. Like all plants and animals are composed of cells, and the cell is the basic unit of life. This is a cell theory. See, all cells come from pre-existing cells. All living organisms are made up of cells. These are some of the statements of cell theory. They, all these statements are, related and explained. Hence, these are, right now we have listed out a few of them only. We did not go for the exhaustive list. But like this, you have different types of content knowledge, scientific knowledge, different components of scientific knowledge. Unless and until a teacher understands these different components of scientific knowledge, it might be difficult for the teacher to think of the process of teaching those things. Hence, content analysis is the most important step. Well, how do we do it? First and foremost thing, we read the content thoroughly, and then we list the important points or ideas, identify the content categories, like what are the content categories that are there in the that particular piece of content that we have taken, whether it has facts, concepts, generalization, theories, postulates, what do we have in that? And then map the content. You can represent it using various ICT tools like FreeMind, BUE, and so on and so forth. And then identify the skills and attitudes that need to be developed along with the content. Let me remind you, I think all of us are here not for just transmitting the knowledge alone, rather we want to see overall development of a child. Hence, we need to keep both cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domain in mind. And when we say content analysis, what are those things that can be developed through this particular content? We need to identify that. And then accordingly, objectives have to be formulated, or we can map with the learning outcomes. And then plan the pedagogical aspects suitable for the various forms of knowledge. Once you have formulated the objectives, that drives or that gives you, guidance in identifying the appropriate pedagogical processes. So this is the first part, that is content knowledge. Content knowledge, every teacher has content knowledge. So it is essential to analyze the content that you're going to teach at the first step. And then next one is context. Now, when I say context, in which context are you teaching? First, whom are you teaching and what is the context in which you are teaching? So demographics, cognitive, physiological, affective, and social parameters are there. Let us try to understand one by one. Demographic parameter, when we say the class size, I told you every classroom is diverse, every classroom is heterogeneous in nature. They are diverse in terms of age, cultural context, socioeconomic status, gender, marginality, geographical location, and availability and access to technology. Keeping all these factors, the lesson or plan has to be designed. Then second one, cognitive or prior knowledge. The educational level of the child or a prerequisite knowledge and experience of the child matters a lot. Learning style of the child, level of digital literacy and the cognitive ability. It's very essential for the teachers to gauge, to understand where does the child stand, in what way the child would love to learn or learns the best, and what is the prerequisite knowledge that the child has with him. Probably all these understanding should be there in the teachers in order to make an effective classroom process. Next one is affective or social thing. Attitude towards self, very important. Every individual should have very positive, favorable attitude towards one's own self first, and their motivational level, their interpersonal relationships and areas of interest. As a teacher, I need to understand this. Unless and until I understand that, I may not be able to put forward certain steps in order to improve these things among the children. Then physiological. Now, when I say physiological, physical and emotional health, and if there are any children who are with special needs, then assistive technologies should be adopted. So we should think of various ways of engaging and involving children of every child of the class. So this is the actual picture of context. So what is the context in which I'm going to do? So you need to do a context analysis. You have done content analysis, now you will do the context analysis. Understand who is going to be taught. What is his ability or her ability? Where do they come from? What do they know about that topic? What is their learning style? How do they perceive themselves? These are important to be assessed. Then, accordingly, once you understand, then choices have to be provided through many learning activities to cater to various learning styles. As I told you earlier only, each one of us learn effectively in different ways. Like, for example, I love watching a video and learning rather than listening to radio, because I love to have a visual as well as oral. So there may be children who may be wanting to have a visual, kinesthetic and oral learning. But at the same time, no single approach is appropriate in all situations. It all depends upon the type of learners you have and the availability of resources. Opportunities to be provided to the students to collaborate, communicate and demonstrate their creativity through activities in non-traditional methods. It's very essential that we should see that the children get opportunity to do for group learning, where they learn from each other, they collaborate and learn, they communicate, they share their ideas, and opportunity to demonstrate their own creativity to friends. Now, another question comes, then in that case, can I make use of the technology here? If so, which technology is suitable to teach which content? That's what TCK talks about. And then it's very essential that the assessment is based on the nature of knowledge. Depending upon the type of knowledge, assessment is also decided. Now, coming to teaching learning process, of course, as I was mentioning you, there are many ICT tools and media which becomes very effective only when it is used appropriately with the content and method of teaching learning. For example, if a teacher wants to teach the concept of metals and non-metals, an activity may be conducted such as display objects made out of metals and non-metals. Compare and contrast its properties to derive at essential and non-essential attributes of metals and non-metals. That means without showing the metals and non-metals, without comparing them, without touching them, without feeling them, without exploring them, it is difficult for the child to get the conceptualized things. Here, instead of going for ICT directly, we can think of giving a direct experience. So friends, I would like to tell you something here. It's very essential that we start with always a direct experience wherever it is possible. ICT can be useful, wherever it is, wherever it is not harmful or it is dangerous or hazardous to children, if it is not hazardous to children, then it's better always go for direct experience than the contrived experience. If it is very hazardous, very expensive, very dangerous, very difficult to reach that, it's not accessible, then probably ICT plays a very huge role there. So the teacher has to judiciously think about, apply, keep the context in mind and decide which teaching learning process and which teaching learning resources she or he would like to use. Of course, there are different methods of for different content categories. For example, facts are generally transmitted. These concepts, theories, and laws are conceptualized. For that, we generally either move from examples to generalization, that is inductive approach, or we try to deduce by deductive approach. That means you give a generalization and deduce a lot of examples from that. At the same time, you give wherever concept assimilation is happening, explanation and expository methods are used. And procedural knowledge, of course, there's no second thought about it. Practice is the only way where procedural knowledge can be developed among the children. Now, I just would like to throw a little light on what NEP 2020 says, because it's the very essential thing which NEP talks about, pedagogical reforms or perspectives. It says that children need to gain experiences. It's not enough. It is not that the knowledge is just to be transmitted. It says that knowledge has to be gained. Experiences have to be gained by the children. That means children have to be provided opportunity to experience things. So the teacher, further, the policy also says the learning should be interdisciplinary in nature. That means knowledge, the teaching learning process should not be done in silos. Like, as a biology teacher, I teach only biology. I don't bring in chemistry. That should not happen. As a biology teacher, I have to speak about history of science, history of biology. At the same time, I bring in different concepts of chemistry also. Wherever it is possible, try to make it as interdisciplinary as possible so that the child understands in its totality, not in silos. And for all these things to happen, actually hands-on learning has to be provided for the children. And further, there are various occasions where storytelling can be one of the important, method of teaching, especially when we teach about, when we narrate the life histories of scientists or life histories of great leaders. Storytelling pedagogy, is a very, very apt pedagogy. And not only that, we can even make them ask such wonderful questions. If they are in that position, how would they respond to it? How would they react? How would they solve the problem? So we can think of making the child think, apply, explore, expand his horizons of thinking. And even policy speaks about cross-curricular approaches, saying that one has to integrate art, sports, health, while teaching, different subject areas. So these are some of the pointers which I tried to emphasize, especially when we are talking about the pedagogical knowledge. So the focus of policy is not, it says that it's not just on acquisition of knowledge, but on holistic development of students. And further, it says on formative assessment to check the progress of learning and in an integrated manner using learning outcomes. That means learning outcomes we are going to keep in mind, but we are going to track the progress of the child through various method, formative assessment techniques. Maybe, I use a checklist, I use an observation schedule, I use a rubric, or I help the child in using a rubric. So catering to the diverse needs and learning styles of the learners, it's very essential that the teacher should know the diverse needs of children and learning styles of children, so that the teacher can design the learning experiences accordingly. And it's not enough if we design learning experiences differently, but it's very essential to have multiple modes of assessment. Unfortunately, our whole assessment system is dominated by paper pencil test. But I think surely we have to have more multiple modes of assessment where we have both quantitative and qualitative modes of assessment. Like, for example, when I'm observing children discussing amongst themselves, Probably, some child would have exhibited some behavior which is extraordinary. Why can't I just record it exactly and put it in the form of an anecdote? See, there are various ways in which assessment can happen. So, for all these things to happen, let me tell you one thing: active partnership in learning is very essential. When I say active partnership in learning, it's not just only in implementation. It should start with planning, implementing, and assessing. That means children have to be involved in both individual and group works. Especially, for example, when I'm giving a children a survey, for example, I'm asking them to do a water audit in their surroundings. So I expect them, they go to their 10 houses and try to find out, do the water audit. Now, how are they doing it? Probably what I can do is I can take their help in designing a rubric on various steps that they need to take up in water auditing. And rubrics, as you know, it's a descriptive rating scale where a lot of descriptives are given in on a scale that is on continuum. So I can take help of students when developing the rubric, and the rubric can be used as a peer assessment tool. I can, inform the children how to use the peer, how the peers can assess the children who are collecting the data from people. So partnership can be taken up in planning, implementing, and assessing. So assessment will not be only teacher assessment, it can be individual assessment. That is, the child himself can do his assessment. That's what we call it as self-assessment. And peer assessment, where the group members or assess the other groups or the members of that particular group. So multimodal assessment is to be encouraged. That's what policy says. And other than that, that means overall, if you look into the policy is focusing on context of children. It's very essential that we teach in the context of children. Learning happens in the context of children. And then primacy has to be given to children's experiences. Providing opportunities to develop process skills and attitudes is very essential, because we want the children to be lifelong, independent learners. So if we want them to become independent learners, probably then surely we need to develop the set of process skills and attitudes that are essential for them so that they can become lifelong learners. And it's very essential that real world exposure to encounter various social issues have to be taken care. It's not enough if I teach only the content that is there in the textbook, but they need to have real world exposure also. So the pedagogical processes, we need to have such kind. And as I already mentioned, assessment should be integrated, and it should be, it can be of three kinds, like the self can assess himself, or the peer can assess, as well as the teacher can assess the child. For all these things, again, pedagogical processes should include certain opportunities, like a child should be given opportunity to experiment things on his own. Whatever may be the stage, all of us, even at this age, we love to experiment with things. So why can't experimentation be a part and parcel of teaching learning process? Probably that's the question which I have in front of me. And then contemplating, this is a very beautiful exercise. We can think of developing the ability among the children to contemplate, reflect, create things. Remember, creation is the most essential ability. Creativity is the most essential ability which needs to be developed among the children. Interact with them, each other. Most essential social skills will be developed. The communication skills will be enhanced. Assess, draw, share, design, observe, read, solve, explore, write, discuss, and construct. Unless and until the opportunities are provided to the children, all these verbs will have no meaning. We need to provide opportunities of for all these activities, all these these to be translated into various activities. Then only the child will be able to share, communicate, construct, and explore the possibilities around him. Coming to the various considerations that we need to have. The first and foremost thing, target audience. When I say target audience here, the students, what is their age group? This we have already discussed, language, demography, and other things. Now, content, especially when I'm teaching the content, whether it is accurate, whether it is relevant, whether it is covering the whole thing, whether it is up to date, whether it is aligned to the curriculum, all these have to be checked. And pedagogical considerations, objectives. Always remember the content. After content analysis, when you formulate the objectives, those objectives paves path for pedagogies. So objectives become basis for pedagogical practices. A method of delivering content, media selection, which type of resources would you like to use, whether you'd like to have an audio or a video or an audio visual, what should be the presentation format, how should be the communication, and whether contextualization to local needs. Like, for example, here I would like to say, like we always say in our capacity building programs for teachers, NCERT books are meant for the nation. So we provide examples from, different states of the country. But when any state is using NCERT textbook, we say that please do contextualize to your state, to your region, to your locality, so that the child gets associated very easily when it is from his or her context. So contextualization is very essential, and multiple modes of assessment as a pedagogical consideration. When I say teaching learning process, assessment becomes an inbuilt component in teaching learning process. So how am I going to assess when these activities are happening in the classroom? And then presentation, when it comes, of course, aesthetics have to be taken care, motivation, innovative or creative, font size, all these media elements, chunking, organizing them suitable to the learner with special needs, and so on and so forth. Ultimately, technical, when we see, it should be free from technical glitches. Audiovisual quality, smooth interactivity has to be checked whenever you are using some technology. So ultimately, when you go for media selection and integration, first and foremost thing is you will check whether it is available with you, whether it is feasible, practically accessible to you, whether it is reliable, whether it is valid, whether it is economical or cost effective, and accordingly you will choose the media. Oh, friends, I mean, of course, I don't know how far it is visible to you. I just tried to make a, I used FreeMind to develop this particular concept map with, which is on, in general, about ICT in education with different aspects. One is teaching learning process. In that we can use lot of free and open softwares, and there are a lot of opportunities for the people to make use of. And then for administration, of course, you have a lot of things like running of MOOCs, databases are there, scheduling the programs, storage, backup, and then communicating. All these things become easy when you use ICT. And then for professional development, right now you are listening to me online. That's the best thing, best example I can say. And then you have webinars, online courses, social networking, online professional associations. There are subject specific groups where people are discussing with each other and finding out amicable solutions. And then for assessment, we can use various tools that are available online. And they are free and open sources which are available. There are various tools for survey, various tools for concept mapping, conducting quizzes, conducting rubrics, preparing rubrics, administering tools, and so on and so forth. So ICT can be used in a very effective manner, provided we have knowledge of the technology, where to use, when to use, and how to use. So I just would like to give you some example, one small example, which I had taken it out. That is with respect to how we can proceed. Let me take a small example. Again, I told you I'm a biology person. I thought I would give you a small, simple example, which everybody will understand because the basic, simple biology. Cell is a structural and functional unit of life. And one of the important thing in the textbook it is given, associates the honeycomb compartments with cell. So now this is the content which is there in that paragraph. I would like to teach this content. How can I teach? In that, what is the type of content knowledge here? Here there is a concept, cell, and there is a generalization. That is, cell is a structural and functional unit of life. Concepts and generalizations can be developed or can be constructed by the children when they are allowed to observe, have many observations, and move towards the generalization. So I feel that here the pedagogical approach or process should be allowing the children to explore different types of cells under microscope, whether it is leaf cell, cheek cell, whether onion cell, cell from different plants and animals, different parts of the body, different types of cells can be shown to the children. And then you can ask the children, okay, now what was the shape of the cell? Is it, did you find anything common in these cells? So what happens is when you question them, the child is able to try to explore each cell and try to see the common characteristic features and move towards a generalization. And the generalized idea is nothing but a concept. So best possible technology here is using microscope. If compound microscope is there, please make use of that. If there is no compound microscope, then digital microscope can be used. If that is also not there, then probably you can think of using quiver color sheets. I hope all of you must have seen. Quiver color sheets are the printouts which you can download from the website online, and then ask the children to color them, and then download the quiver app in your mobile, and then scan it with your scan the diagram filled with colors with the app. You will find that the picture of the thing will come live in front of you. So this gives at least an understanding about how a cell looks like to the children. And you can use hot potatoes for developing a quiz and ask some questions, that who is the first person who had seen the cell, what was the shape of the cell, you can think of which is the structural and functional unit of life. You can think of making some quiz questions and try to check the factual knowledge as well as the conceptual knowledge of the children. So this is how you can think of integrating content, pedagogy, and technology along with assessment in the lesson. In the same way, you can go ahead with various, like for example, life history of scientists. When I'm teaching, I may give a group work. I may ask them to prepare an album on life history of scientists. Maybe, Robert Hooke and Skleden Swan. And for that, we can think of, if as a teacher, I can use digital storytelling or timeline here. And I can develop a Ruby Star. I can develop a rubric using Ruby Star app, and then use it as an assessment tool when the children are presenting their albums. So like this, I can integrate assessment also. I can use technology for not only for teaching learning, but not only for teaching, but also for assessment also. So like this, we need to plan the lessons. Prateek, should we take some questions, or if there are any questions on the chat box, or shall I complete the presentation?
Yes, ma'am, you can first complete everything, then question answer we will take at last.
Yeah, okay. Now, if there are any questions on chat box, if you would like to raise. No?
No, ma'am, you can continue.
Okay, then fine. Okay, now coming to the, we have understood what content knowledge is, what pedagogical knowledge is. Pedagogical knowledge is something talking about the different methods of teaching, different strategies of teaching, different styles of teaching, and based upon the objectives of the lesson. And then we understood that PCK, that depending upon the content, pedagogy is designed, depending upon the context, the pedagogy is designed. And now technology, we make use of different resources, and then different strategies of assessment are taken up, and we try to achieve the learning outcomes through it. Here I just would like to give you one example. This is from our learning outcomes document. NCERT had come out with learning outcomes for elementary and secondary stage, and higher secondary is still in the draft form. This is from the elementary stage, which I have just took a snapshot. One learning outcome: identifies simple observable features of plants and animals, birds and objects, places in immediate surroundings, and so on and so forth. Now, there are different pedagogical processes that can be used, and the best thing is showing them pictures, showing them videos, ask the children to observe them, and ask them to identify and tell in the classroom. For that, assessment can be through worksheets, through assignments, through projects, through creative activities. And apart from that, a teacher can herself observe how the children are identifying, whether they have identified correctly or not. In the same way, the teacher can encourage the children to assess themselves, which is very, very important, self-assessment. And when the child is presenting his ideas, peers can assess him. Even that can happen. And whatever is being assessed, whatever is being done by the children, they can be recorded in a portfolio, and that portfolio can be periodically be assessed by both the teacher and the student. So like this, a lesson can be designed. What I mean to say is, when you're designing itself, if you can keep these the objectives in mind, first formulate the objectives, think of the different strategies, think of the different assessment process aspects, and think of the various resources that you can make use of. So that when you plan better, surely your lesson also will go better. That's what I just would like to say. Like, how do you organize? You can organize various activities, especially, teaching learning process. When I say, you can organize field visits, you can organize paired work, group work, individual presentations, and then you can think of giving immediate observations to the feedback to the children. You can give written work, you can give peer assessment, you can have anecdotal record. Depending upon the type of approach or a method or a strategy you are using, accordingly the suitable assessment strategies can also be taken up. Like, let us take one example. If you are expecting the child to develop something and present it, individual presentation. Now, how are we going to assess that? Assessment can become again a very simple thing. If one child is presenting, probably you can think of developing a rubric. Like, assume that you are asking the children to come out with a demonstrate how a volcano works, a functional model of a volcano. Then the child develops designs and develops a model and brings to the class, and he demonstrates it. He shows it how it functions. Then when one child is showing it, maybe the other children who are sitting can observe certain points and try to record it. So before even you allow the children to present, probably you can have the rating scale or a rubric developed along with them, or at least inform them what that rubric is meant for, how it has to be rated. So when one student is presenting, all other students can rate his performance. So performance assessment can be very interesting process that can be taken up in the classrooms. So after the presentation, both the friends as well as the teacher can give feedback to the children. So that is how assessment can become an inbuilt component. And you can build the lesson after that. That means assessment is not, a process, an activity that happens at the end of the class. It can be between the class when the class is going on. So formative assessment is encouraged and promoted. It has to be taken up a little more seriously, and surely our textbooks and our teaching learning process also must reflect that. So in this way, you can think of organizing teaching learning processes. Again, the similar example, as I think I've put it here. One small example of a rubric I'm trying to put it, because we have been talking about rubric and different apps that can be used for developing rubric and so on. You must be knowing about it, nothing new, but I just thought of giving you an example. When you ask the children to survey to find source of wastage of water and interview people to find reasons about it. This is in EVS. You can give a small survey question where we can ask the children to go to some 5 households and find out where water is being wasted and what are the reasons for it. So this type of rubric can be prepared level 1, level 2, level 3. 3 levels are decided by the teacher, and the criteria is framing questions. How did they frame questions? Did they take help of teacher? Did they do it on their own? How did they do it? Collecting responses. How did they ask questions? and then recording information and report making, drawing conclusion, and then other qualities like cooperation and so on and so forth. So a rubric of this kind can be prepared along with the students. What I feel is students should take partnership in developing these rubrics. Because when students are involved in developing the rubrics, what happens? Students take the ownership of learning also. And when they do the activity, they keep these pointers in mind and give their best. So in one way, it helps in learning process. And the other way, it helps in assessing also. So this can be used as a peer assessment or a self-assessment or a teacher assessment tool. So rubrics can be made use of very well in the classroom in the performance assessment. Simple example, I just would like to throw a little light on it. Classifies when we say, in learning outcomes, we have one common learning outcome from class 1 to class 12, if you say, classifies materials, objects, things, and based on certain characteristics and properties. Now, very interesting thing, how do we classify? Probably when we think of these learning outcomes or action verbs, we need to focus on the meaning of the action verb and what are the sequence of activities that are really leading towards that learning outcome. Now, how do we classify generally? Simple. How do we classify things? I'm moving in a garden. I observe different plants around me. Most of them are green in color. Some are small, some are big, some are tall. Some have woody stems, some of them have tender stem. Some are clinging onto the wall, some of them are straight. Now, what am I doing? I'm observing, and then I'm identifying things. Then after identifying, what do I do? Oh, I find this plant, plant A, plant C, and plant D has thick woody stem, and they are very tall. So what did I do? I identified some common characteristic features or attributes which are commonly found in a group of things. I then group them. Okay. After grouping them, what do I do? Oh, all of them have woody stem. Okay. All of them have woody stem and all of them are tall. All of them are huge, big. They have many branches and their roots are deeply rooted. So they must be trees or woody stem plants, I may say. The teacher may correct it and say that, okay, it is trees. So basically the process of classifying includes observing, identifying the things, identifying the common characteristic features, grouping them and labeling them. So if the teacher wants the child to classify, that means the teacher has to provide opportunity for the children to do all these tasks. Simply writing on the blackboard and expecting the child to classify would not serve the purpose. A teacher has to give an opportunity for the children to observe things. That means a teacher can show some pictures, some objects, some real things, some videos, some pictures, depending upon the availability and accessible materials, the teacher can take a call. But show something. Let them see, let them feel, let them touch, and then identify the things. Once they identify the things, then the cognitive processes that are happening inside the brain of the child help him in moving towards identifying the characteristic features also or attributes also. Based on the attributes, they group them and then they label them. If we undergo this process, I think surely children will be able to classify the things on their own at a higher level also. In the same way, plans and conducts an investigation is one of the learning outcome. Unless and until they plan and investigate, I don't think the children will be able to achieve this learning outcome. Very essential that they should be given opportunity to observe, identify, define the problem, collect materials, set up apparatus, develop questionnaire wherever it is required, or conduct experiment and record the findings and take a meaning out of it or make meaning out of the collected data, record the results and conclude and follow up with it. These steps are very essential, and only when they do it, they'll be able to, it'll be able to get registered. If you are not doing, just writing on the blackboard would not make them learn these things. So ultimately, I just would like to focus on what is the role of teacher here. One, as we have seen till now, first and foremost thing is analyzing the content analysis, identify its nature, and find out what knowledge has to be learned, what attitudes have to be developed, which process skills, which values, which behavioral aspects need to be developed or promoted among the children, and then understand their needs, interests, abilities, learning styles, context, and then PCK, transform the content and represent it to provide experience. Very important. TPAC is talking about that only. TPAC is talking about how to represent it and how to transform the content and integrate pedagogy and assessment and using various technology and provide them an experience so that they learn things on their own. For all these things to happen, we need an interactive environment with integrated assessment. Assessment should not be done as an summative kind alone. It should be taken up in a formative way. That means when the activities are happening, the assessment should happen, so that assessment is checking the progress of the learning progress of the children. And it's very essential that it is not just assessing, reflecting the performance of student alone. I think we need to reflect on our performance also. For example, when I'm running the slides, after I run the slides, I need to reflect upon how did I do. So whether it is teacher or a student, everybody should reflect on their performance once the act is done. So that's all about the slides, which I just would like to share with you. Now I think we can take few questions and then we can add on. Pratik?
Okay, ma'am. Yes, participants, if you have any questions, you can certainly ask ma'am regarding same.
Pratik, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Yeah, I hope I was audible. I just stopped my screen sharing.
Okay, you are audible, ma'am.
Yeah, I would like to take some questions and let us have some discussion based on this.
Yes, sure, ma'am.
Yeah. May I request the participants if we can have some discussion on the pointers that are discussed, presented.
Yes, Trupti, ma'am, do you have any question? Trupti Dere, ma'am.
No.
Yeah.
No, ma'am. I'm really happy with the content you are presenting. Myself, my daughter is into biotechnology. So she has to present projects on so many topics, like she had prepared on protein and all. So this will help her also, I feel. So many things you told regarding this matter. It will help our students, science students, so many students, ma'am. And I'll be able
actually,
to
yeah. Rightly said, Trupti ji. Actually, this is honestly speaking, for any teacher, for any learner.
Yes, ma'am. This is a very wide subject. Na? This what you are taking, and it will be helpful to every segment of our education. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. You can share some observations also if you have any.
No, ma'am. Right now, she has completed a project on biotechnology, but she has not uploaded it, not finished it quite. So if it's completed, I'll surely.
Yeah, actually, Trupti ji, this instructional designing may all these aspects are included. So whether it is for developing materials or teaching learning process, these steps are generally being used. And
exactly.
I think it makes sense also that we understand the premise and then we build build upon it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah.
But these things are very difficult. My daughter, she woke up. She used to stay awake late at nights to complete a project because it was very difficult, like streaming videos and all that stuff. No, so I think all this content will be helpful, really helpful, to her if I explain to her in this manner. What you have just told me. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your
You're
knowledge.
welcome. Yeah. Any other questions or any comments or observations? Yeah, I think Vaishali ji is asking about, can you put some more light on framework of TPAC model? Actually, Vaishali ji, if you just see a little bit of history, if you take my, okay, fine, ma'am, no problem. If you have any queries or observations, you can put it on chat box also. I can look into them. Yeah, Vaishali ji is asking us to, asking me to throw a little light on TPAC model. Basically, this, if you see, if you are interested, you can read about Schulman, Schulman. Schulman's theory, he had spoken something about pedagogical content knowledge. In his research, what he found is there are, instances which he found that there are teachers who are extraordinarily good in their content. And they have some pedagogical knowledge also. Like, for example, those who have done B.Ed, they would be knowing different methods of teaching. It's not a new thing at all. But when they are getting into the real field, they are struggling, like they are not able to manage the class properly. They are not able to manage the students properly, and they are not able to reach the students properly, even though they have knowledge of content as well as pedagogy. So Schulman says that pedagogical content knowledge is a specialized kind of knowledge which the teacher acquires through the years of experience. Like the teacher understands which child learns better in which way. And when the teacher designs her class according to that, the child learns in a better way. And it's quite natural also. If I love to do and learn, and the teacher is giving me an opportunity to do and learn, I'll learn better. Right. So pedagogical content knowledge is nothing but a specialized knowledge which a teacher possesses. That knowledge is nothing but, as a teacher, I know how to represent, what to represent, to what extent to represent, in what way to represent to a particular child. So first step is understanding the child and representing or providing experience the way he will learn in a better manner. So that specialized knowledge is called as PCK. Now, when it comes to TPAC, Punya, and like, for example, you have, if you just browse through, there is a book, handbook on TPAC model. Okay, it is written by Mary Herring, Matthew Coiler, and Punya Mishra. You can browse through these names. You will get a lot of material, and their website is having TPAC model. If you put TPAC framework, it is called actually TPAC framework. If you put it, they have a separate website for the different materials and resources. You can have access to all those things. You please browse through and try to understand. But here I would like to say something here. Punya Mishra's thing is mainly focusing on how to integrate ICT in content pedagogy and assessment. So how to go in a holistic way, how technology can be used in an effective manner to reach the children. So that is the main objective behind this particular framework. So what he has done is he tried to say that content, pedagogy, and technology, they should go hand in hand. Like a simple example, let me just give you one example here. Heart, functioning of heart or blood supply. Okay, circulatory system, what we call. Well, if I have to teach children circulatory system, how am I going to teach? First of all, what am I going to teach? I am going to teach them how actually the blood flows in our body. Is it from top to bottom or bottom to top? Is there any pumping organ? If there is a pumping organ, where is it situated and how does it pump blood to different parts of the body? How does the blood collects, which organ collects the different blood from different parts of the body? Where is it getting aerated? All these steps have to be understood by the child. So if I just show them on the chart, okay, with a flow chart, the child may not be able to visualize it. So best method would be show a body where circulation is happening, but it is not possible. So what do? I try to go for a video, an animated video, which shows how the blood is pumped by heart to different parts of the body and how the blood is collected from different parts of the body and sent to lungs for purification, and from lungs how it is sent to different parts. So this process can be shown through an animated video, not a general video again. So which technology can play or can make learning process easier or facilitate learning process to the children for a particular type of content and for a particular type of method when it is used? This integration is expected in TPAC model. That means for which group of students, which type of content, which type of method is suitable to reach the expected learning outcomes. That is what is TPAC model. That integration is very, very essential. Simple example, I'm using, I want to teach the classification small example, types of leaves I want to teach the children. There are different types of leaves, simple compound you have. You can classify the leaves based upon their edges, based upon their texture, based upon different features. Now, what methodology am I going to do? Am I going to use? Am I just going to use blackboard and teach? Or should I take them to a garden, nearby garden, inside the school or outside the school, or 10-15 plants which they have surroundings, ask them to go and observe, draw them, come with some observations. Now, which method would be suitable? So content is classifying. Which method is suitable for which age group of children? And how to teach it. Here, technology is not required. Here, instead of technology, direct experience is required. But when there is no garden at all, I am living in 15-floored apartment. There is no nearby garden. It is impossible for me to take the children to garden. Then what can we do? We can think of a virtual tour. You have virtual tours of various zoo parks. Like if I want to show some mammals to the children and I cannot take the children to the zoo park, then I can make arrangements. I can have a big screen in the school and I can show the children, I can take the children on virtual tour. So you need to think of how and where the technology has to be integrated in teaching learning process and which technology is suitable for which content and for which method. Now, field trip I'm using as a methodology. I'm trying to take the students to zoo park, okay? And I'm asking them to, make a list of animals that they have observed and categorize them as per their classification given or something, or as per the food habits. So something I'm giving them a task. Now, which methodology I'm using? Field trip. I'm taking them to the zoo park. Okay, then do you need a technology here? You don't need a technology, because taking them, field trip itself is a methodology and the technique there itself is a field trip. So their technology is not, you don't need any helping aid there. You can use some worksheets. That becomes a technique there. So depending upon the content, context, and the ability of the student, you need to decide how technology has to be integrated into it. See, assessment ke liye you can use technology very well. because it plays a huge role, provided they have some gadgets and basic equipment available in the schools. Like you want to do a poll. You are asking a question, how many of you would like to go to, you would like to visit a water treatment plant or a sewage treatment plant? You want to know how many of them are interested in each category. Then you have various ICT tools for polling. If the children have mobiles, within no time you can get the number of children who are interested in it. So it's very easy, especially when you are playing with more numbers. ICT plays a huge role. And ICT plays a very important role in certain aspects which cannot be, like, there are certain concepts in biology where we talk about microbes and other things. I cannot show the microbes directly to them, but we can think of showing them through ICT. There are various ICT tools that can be used. In the same way, if I have to teach about celestial bodies, it's not possible for me to take them to a planetarium, but you have various tools that are available, open softwares available, which you can make use of. Celestia is one of the app that is available. Use that app and show the solar system, celestial bodies to them. So wherever things are not accessible and feasible and not safe for the children, there you can immediately think of the sources that are available in the form of ICT tools. How you are going to integrate it, when you are going to integrate, how you are going to use it, that is what is planning. So I hope, Vaishali ji, I have answered your query. There's a lot to read about TPAC model, and NCRT, we have developed a training package for teachers on TPAC model, where we have designed a lot of activities and a lot of worksheets and assessment devices also. So you can please browse through the material that is available. There is a TPAC framework on website itself. Please go through that and you can make use of the resources available there. Yeah, any other observations or queries or questions or comments? Yeah. Pratik?
सगळ्यांना का सभी को बोलिए
Sorry, I'm not able to hear. Pratik? Yeah, if you have any questions or observations, I would love to have. Otherwise, probably we can wind up then. Pratik, are you there? Yeah.
Hello.
Pratik? Yeah. If there are no more questions, I think we can wind up then.
Okay, just 1 second, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, participants, if you have any questions are there, you can ask. Hello.
Yeah, there's one question, online training sites for ICT. I would like to suggest you to do some courses that are made by Commonwealth of Learning and UNESCO. They have made some courses together on online only. Please put them as COL courses. You will get I think 4 courses are there, and 2 of them are right now running. On MOOCs, one course is running, and another one is on how to integrate technology. Yeah, COL courses. Yeah. This, I think you can do it. It is free and online available. And of course, we at CIET, lot of online courses are being conducted. You can please visit our website. And MOOCs are also there from CIET. NCERT is conducting SwayamK MOOCs also. And ICT training, of course, a lot of webinars keep going on. Please visit our CIET website so that you will get to know, because almost every week we have 2 sessions on different tools, digital tools. Yes, Anjali ji, sorry I've interrupted you. Yeah. Anjali ji?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Ma'am,
yeah,
please
yeah.
wait
I
for
just,
2-3 minutes.
yeah, sure.
Hello, Anjali madam. Can I start this
Yes, sir.
valedictory?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, all the participants, on behalf of Vidyalankar Polytechnic, we had organized this workshop, the faculty development program, and for the last 5 days and around 10 to 12 sessions, there was a good exchange of thoughts from eminent speakers. I hope that this type of programs add value to your pedagogical enhancements, and you will apply them in your actual practice as a professional teacher. Vidyalankar keeps organizing these type of workshops and FDPs. Recently, we had one FDP on NEP 2020, and in future also we will be organizing such events. And our team, Pratik sir, Anjali, and Bhole, all those people will get back to you. And I think all the participants will be given these certificates online, right, Pratik sir? And then once again, on behalf of Polytechnic, I thank all the participants and look forward for associating with you. Thank you so much. Anjali madam, you can take forward.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, any participants, if you want to give the feedback for this throughout 1 week FDP, you can proceed further. Yes, any participant, if you want to give feedback.
Pratika, I'm leaving. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, for coming and sharing your valuable knowledge with us.
Thank you, Anjali ji. Have a great time. Bye.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
All the participants are hereby informed that the certificate you will get after 17th of August. And you have to pay, there is an online payment regarding certification. That notification and everything, we will post it in the WhatsApp group, and all the resource person learning material as a PPT, YouTube links and everything that we are going to send in the WhatsApp group. And the certificates will be issued after 17th of August. You can do online payment from today itself. You can start your procedure, but certificate will be issued after 17th of August. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
थैंक यू सो मच मैडम, आज का लिंक भेज दीजिए.
Yes, sir. Feedback link will be posted soon.
Yes. Thank you so much, Pratik sir. Thank you so much, Vaishali madam. And I must congratulate Vidyalankar. They have arranged a very good and a different. There were many topics which are not known at all to us. So for faculties of diploma level, it was like Marathi म्हणायचं तर पर्वणी होती ती. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Please fill the feedback form. And thank you all.
All the participants are hereby informed that feedback form is posted in the WhatsApp group. And learning material, PPT, YouTube links that will be sending within 5 minutes in your WhatsApp group as well. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye. Take care.